Hello and good evening, everybody, and I'd like to welcome everyone to episode 29 of Album Rant. And tonight we are going to be returning to the world of the Scorpions. And I believe I last talked about them, I think it was episode 11, I want to say. I could be wrong, but if memory serves me correctly, which is really up in the air right now, but I believe it was episode 11, and I talked about their album Animal Magnetism, which was their 7th album. Yes. Well, I'm going to go a little bit backwards, and I'm going to talk about their 4th album tonight, which was 1976's Virgin Killer. And I kind of gave you a background on the Scorpions in my last episode in which I discussed them. But just a quick recap, they formed in the early 70s, might have been early 60s, but their first album came out in 1972 entitled Lonesome Crow. And I know I am going to butcher some of these names. These guys are a German metal group, and so, yeah, some of these names are kind of foreign to me, so if I am butchering these names, mispronouncing them, please go easy on me in the comments section. But it was composed of lead vocalist Klaus Meine, I don't know. And then brothers Rudolf and Michael Schenker on the guitar, and then 2 other members that I just cannot pronounce, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But now that I think about that, Michael Schenker, he is actually mostly well known for his work with the rock group UFO, who I may discuss on a future episode, maybe, potentially, we'll see. But that first Scorpions release, Lonesome Crow, was very different than their mainstream success, which would come about 8, 9, 10 years later or so. It's very different from songs like Rock You Like a Hurricane, No One Like You, Still Loving You, Winds of Change. It was very different than those. It was very melodic, but at the same time had kind of an edge to it. Had kind of a psychedelic edge to it, and I really, really loved it. But after that first album, pretty much everybody except Klaus and Rudolf left to go pursue other careers. Michael, like I said, went to join the band UFO, and then what happened for their second album, which was entitled Fly to the Rainbow, which came out 2 years later, Klaus and Rudolf joined forces with a band called Dawn Road. I may have accidentally referred to them as Red Dawn in my previous episode. I don't know, I can't remember, but it's a definite possibility. But basically, they were joined by lead guitarist Ulrich Roth, the great Ulrich Roth, who was on their next 4 releases. They were also joined by their longtime bassist, and I think I am saying this correctly. According to Google, this is the pronunciation. Francis Buchholz. May have said that incorrectly. Again, I don't know. And then another drummer that I cannot pronounce. But basically, Fly to the Rainbow was awesome. Very psychedelic in nature, had hits like Speedy's Coming, the title track, and my personal favorite, Drifting Sun, which is absolutely insane. And something that happened on that track, which would happen on these next couple of releases, Ulrich Roth actually took over lead vocals. I heard people say he's a terrible lead vocalist. I actually don't mind him. I thought his lead vocals suited the song and its mood very, very well. But anyways, that was a huge success, and it was followed up the next year with In Trance. And the drummer of unknown pronunciation was replaced with another drummer named Rudy Lenners, I want to say. Anyways, In Trance was even better than Fly to the Rainbow. It had hits such as Dark Lady, the title track, Top of the Bill, Robot Man, and I absolutely loved it. And Ulrich Roth continued to take lead vocals on a few of those tracks. I believe it was Dark Lady and I forget the name of it. Sun in My Hand, I want to say. But he, like I said, did share lead vocals on those songs. And again, his style, I think, suits his vocal styles, his vocals, his voice, I think really suits his style of music much, much better. He writes the more insane songs, the more psychedelically induced numbers, and I think it was a very, very interesting time period for the band. But still, they have not fully found their sound yet, quote unquote. They have not really found the sound that made them very, very popular, the Van Halen-like style that they're most well associated with. But that's going to bring me to the subject of tonight's review, the album that came after In Trance, entitled Virgin Killer. And as you can see right here, we have a picture of the band on the cover. This was not the original artwork, and honestly, if I attempted to buy a pressing that had that original artwork on it, that might put me in a tough position, because I am not joking. The original artwork actually included a picture of a naked 15-year-old girl, and there was a slight crack in the glass right around her pubic region, and I'm pretty sure that is child pornography. And wisely, on the American pressings, they did replace that image with what you see right here on the screen, but it caused a lot of controversy. I mean, this band, in their title, is in itself a sexual innuendo. And a lot of their music is very, very sexual. That was kind of the entire point of them. But I want to say I think they took it a bit too far on the original artwork for Virgin Killer. And I'm kind of glad that that's been rectified. But apparently the title means this. The Virgin Killer is time. As time goes on, people progress. They lose their innocence, and they turn into what they are. According to Wikipedia, that's what the title means, so I'm going to go with it. But let's go ahead and see what we have here on the back. We have the lineup right there. There we have Klaus, longtime lead vocalist. He's been on every single Scorpions album. We have Ulrich John Roth. He was only with them from 1974 to 1977. Very, very short period of time, but he left quite an impression. But he is on lead guitar. We have Rudolf Schenker, also on lead guitar. He's also been with the band ever since their inception. We have Francis Buchholz right there. I think I'm saying that correctly. Longtime bass player. He was with them all the way up through the early 90s, so throughout pretty much all of their success. And then we have Rudy Lenners right there. He would only be on 2 albums, In Trance and this one. But let's go ahead and see what we have here on the track list. We start with side A, and it kicks off with Pictured Life, written by Schenker, Meine, and Roth. And I gotta say, it kicks things off pretty well. It almost has a reggae feeling to it. I mean, kind of odd, I guess you would say. Not really what you would associate with the band, but something about it really works, and I really enjoy it. But yeah, it starts off, like I said, a nice, slow but swinging reggae beat. And then Klaus comes in right after that opening guitar riff and goes, ooh, and I don't know the rest of the lyrics, but it's pretty solid opener, and I definitely do recommend it. If you ever listen to the Tokyo tapes, that Pictured Life is featured on it. I have never actually seen these guys live. I really want to, but I never have. But I think they do still play this one in concert. But then we come to Catch Your Train, which is the second track, and you'll notice that Roth does not have a writing credit on this. And largely because of that, we have a much different mood on this one. This one is really more of a straight-ahead hard rocker, and it's got a great rhythm to it, like I said. I think it's got a very powerful beat to it, and I really, really do like Catch Your Train. I don't really know the lyrics once again, so I'm not even going to attempt to sing it, but it's a good track. It's kind of a precursor, I guess you could say, to what would follow it. They definitely, after Uli left the band, after Roth left the band, they definitely went in the direction that Catch Your Train would suggest, and for what it's worth, I think it's a great song. Then we have In Your Park. I want to walk in your park. And that's all I'm going to say about the lyrics. Again, they're kind of living up to their name on this one. But this one is a lot more slower, and the Scorpions have always had ballads, at least as far as I can tell, but this is one of the ballads off of this album, and I gotta say, I don't quite think it's my favorite. I think Klaus gets a little whiny on this one, and it's just too soft and too slow. I mean, there is some definite great guitar work on here. This is not a sappy 80s love ballad by any stretch of the imagination, but it just falls flat compared to some of their other stuff. I'm just going to say that, but not quite my favorite. But then things kick right back up with Backstage Queen, which reminds me a lot more of Catch Your Train. It's another very, very upbeat rocker, and I have no complaints about that one. And it is also featured on the Tokyo tape, so if you buy that, and I do own it on both CD and vinyl, you can hear that song live, which I very, very highly recommend. But then we come to the very first track that Roth wrote by himself. The title track, He's a Virgin Killer! Wow. What a change of pace. What a great change of pace. This song is absolutely insane, and I love every second of it. It kicks off with a nice guitar intro. I am guessing it's by Roth, but please fact check me on that if you can, because I am not 100% certain, but it is fast-paced, it is aggressive, and it is beyond messed up. Klaus still sings this one, and he sounds amazing on it, but I gotta say, Virgin Killer is definitely my favorite song from side A. Everything about it is just pure gold. It is fast, it is crazy, it's got a psychedelic feel to it, and Uli Roth, heck of a songwriter, and I really wish he had stayed in the band longer, but he didn't, but this is what we have, and I'm going to enjoy it. So, side A, very strong, very good. Virgin Killer is my favorite. So, looking over here on side B, we now come to the very first song that Roth sings by himself. Actually, I think Klaus does have some vocals on this. I think, actually, he does. But, no matter what, Uli does sing lead vocals on this one. And it's a 2-minute 54-second song entitled Hellcat! Hellcat! Another very, very crazy one. Another very psychedelic song. It's a little bit slower, but boy, it has got quite a punch to it. And I really, really do love Hellcat. Definitely recommend Hellcat. Then we come to Crying Days. Starts off, pretty aggressive beat and everything, but it gets very, very melodic afterwards. I mean, it's got a few moments, and they're just moments where the guitar and the bass start kicking in and get, pretty hard rocking, but for the most part, this is another ballad, and I'm not sure if it really hits the mark the way some other songs do. This was one of the very first songs I heard from this era, I guess you could say. And Crying Days, while I like it for what it is definitely one of the weaker songs off of Virgin Killer. But then we come to Polar Nights, which is another song that Roth wrote by himself. And again, it's got, once again, that very weird, very eerie feel to it. And it's a little bit softer, but it's also kind of fast. And I gotta say, I don't think Roth really nails the vocals on this one. His voice kind of cracks, it sounds like, in some points. And this is probably not my favorite composition by him. I still love it all the same, and it's also featured on the Tokyo tapes, the vinyl edition only. But, definitely one of the weaker songs by him, but I still really enjoy it. But, yeah, it's pretty fast, pretty good beat to it. I just think it might have been a better idea if they just let Klaus sing this one. But then it concludes with Yellow Raven, and a lot of these Scorpions albums, they often end with a ballad, and some of them have worked very well, like Still Loving You, or When the Smoke is Going Down, or Born to Touch Your Feelings. Others have not worked so well. Believe in Love. Believe in Love. This one kind of falls in the middle. I don't see anything wrong with it, but it doesn't really leave much of an impression. This one is very melodic and slow, and I gotta say, it is definitely probably one of the weaker songs off of Virgin Killer, but my favorite from side B is definitely Hellcat. That song is an absolute beast. That song is absolutely crazy and psychedelic, and I just love it. And just something about it makes me want to sing along with it. Even though I don't really fully know the lyrics, I still really love it. But anyways, that was Virgin Killer, and I do recommend this album. As I said previously, their 70s stuff, at least as far as the mainstream is concerned, has really fallen through the cracks, and it's a really big shame that it has. Because there is some absolutely amazing stuff off of these releases. And if you're getting into the Scorpions, if you've maybe, heard their hits like Rock You Like a Hurricane and No One Like You, and you're pretty much in the stage where you're starting to buy their albums because you really love their greatest hits, do not ignore these. They're really great. This is definitely one of the better Scorpions releases. So I absolutely do recommend it, and that is going to conclude tonight's review. Now, we've been examining Killers for quite a while, and I think by this point we've pretty much conquered everything that they're capable of in the studio, but next time I like to see what they can do live on stage. But until then, have a very pleasant evening.